All right, welcome to another episode of Rooting for Laundry. I'm your host, Johnny McDonald. You can follow us at Root for Laundry on IG and Twitter, as it says on the ticker right there. Like, share, subscribe to videos. We're on Facebook, Facebook page, and YouTube page. Thank you for joining us. This is episode number 35, and today we're going to talk about college basketball. This is the first time I'm getting to cover college basketball, and what better team to cover than my favorite team out of New York, St. John's. Fun team, a long history in the city of New York, and today we got two comedians who have great guys I talk sports with a lot, and we're going to have some fun. First guest. He is a comedian, performs all over. Good friend of mine. Give it up for Howie Dewey.
Hey.
Howie, what's up, man? How you been, man? I don't know what happened to John. There he is. My next guest is another comedian, performs all over. He's a St. John's alum, and I think I seen him kill a guy. Give it up for John Butera.
What's up?
I referenced it to the movie. You know,
I was like, you were
I watched.
No.
So, guys, thank you for joining us, man. Joining me, man. I appreciate it, and I know you guys are big college basketball, St. John's guys. And I'll start with Howie. How did you become like a St. John guy? I know you played ball in high school and stuff like that. So, I guess, how did you start to follow in St. John's?
When I was a little kid growing up, there was only two teams that you could watch on TV, and that was St. John's and Syracuse. So the greatest is when they would play each other. So, you know, you're growing up, and it was a huge rivalry. And as a little kid, you know, watching guys like Chris Mullin, Walter Berry, Mark Jackson, you know, Syracuse had a ton of guys. It was just that was it. Those were my only two teams. So when they played anyone else, it was kind of like I was 50-50. I liked them both. I didn't have one team or another. I just loved St. John's. I loved Syracuse. It was Carnesecca, Bayheim.
Mm-hmm.
They were either playing at the Dome, the Garden. Yeah, serious rivalry. Like, really big rivalry, those two. Way before
when the Big East was probably the best conference in basketball, the college basketball.
There was no comparison. I mean, you know, and it was in St. John's, they're going to like Final 16s, Final Fours. And when you looked at their whole team, they were all from New York.
Yeah.
Oh, you had Chris Mullins from Xavier, and Walter Berry from Ben Franklin in Harlem, Mark Jackson, Bishop Laughlin. So, you know, it was a time back then. Syracuse, same thing. All the kids on Syracuse are from New York.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody stayed home back then. You didn't have kids running off to Duke, Carolina, Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they all stayed home.
Yeah. So, John, I'll ask you, since you're a St. John alum, was that an influence for you to go there, or?
Well, definitely. I mean, obviously, growing up, basketball was my number one sport that I played. I loved baseball. I loved everything, but basketball for me was number one. I played junior high and into high school, and I don't even know if I ever told you this, and this is a quick weird story that I found out. In between 7th and 8th grade, I was picked by whatever organization it was to play at the Villanova Nike basketball camp. They had 50 guys at each position from around the country that got to play. There was only 250 people at the tournament at the basketball camp. It was an overnight camp for 5 days. And being that I was the same age, I contacted Nova to ask. And in my year that I was there, so was Kobe Bryant.
Oh, get out of here.
I actually played at the basketball camp with Kobe Bryant.
Wow.
As weird as that sounds, because I'm 42. My birthday's in June. He would have been 42, and his birthday's in August. So we're only two months apart in age.
Yeah.
And I was obviously a point guard, being that I'm 5'9". But yeah, so it was pretty cool that I backtracked. I called up, I contacted them, whatever, told them who I was, and after about a day or two, they got back to me, and he was at that camp along with other NBA players, which I think is pretty crazy. Lamar Odom was there. Um, who else was there? Artest was there, who actually I ended up going to school with. Other great players. I can't really remember them all now, but you asked about why I liked St. John's, and growing up, St. John's was it. My father was a college basketball fan, and St. John's was the only team. Being that Lou Carnesecca, is Italian, and that was how my father basically rooted for things, as if they were Italian or not. Uncle Louie was the main reason. And then when I went to St. Anthony's High School on Long Island, I decided that it was either going to be military or St. John's. And unfortunately, I had a back surgery when I was 16 that military wasn't the way. So I knew I was going to St. John's. I only actually applied to 2 schools, St. John's and Stony Brook, and I went to St. John's, obviously. And while I was there at St. John's, I was the play-by-play announcer for St. John's Red Storm basketball.
Nice.
So that's how I really gained notoriety with the school, with the organization. Well, not really organization, but with the school and the program, being there from 96 to 2000.
Oh, so that's great. So you guys, a lot of good years. They were winning and they were doing well. But I'll backtrack to the memories of the Final Four appearance with Mullin and Mark Jackson and Walter Berry. I just watched the game to review the Georgetown game with Ewing. And I guess, Howie, I'll start with you, and then John, you can go right after. Talk about, I guess, watching that game, watching how good this team was with Bill Wennington, another guy, and Walter Berry, who I heard just didn't have, like, he got drafted, but he just had a sour attitude and didn't make it far in the NBA.
Yeah, he was a little, truthfully, he was a little undersized. He was 6'8", 6'7", 6'8", strong, like jump out of the gym. He was, and he played on that St. John's team where he didn't have a lot of pressure on him, man. I mean, you had Chris Mullin and Mark Jackson. That take a little pressure off you. So he was able to just wander, get offensive rebounds, dunk. But no, that Final Four, oh my God. I mean, St. John's, they had handled Georgetown during the season.
Yeah.
And that Georgetown team was loaded.
Yeah, Ewing, David Wingate, Reggie Williams. Yeah, it was
Williams. Ewing. They were loaded. So it was a good game. I want to say St. John's. What they lose? 2 games during the season.
I can't remember.
3 games. Yeah,
3 games.
In the Big East was loaded. I mean, the fact that Villanova was even in that Final Four. Villanova,
yeah.
I think they were top 6 or 7 teams in the Big East. They just went on a roll in that tournament.
I remember Georgetown was the defending champs for the year prior, and they were talking about Ewing being like a college basketball legend. At the time, they were going to have a dynasty similar to Bill Walton or Kareem and stuff.
Yeah, they were. They had won it the previous year. They came back, and I mean, I remember being a kid watching that, and I'm like, I don't think anyone's going to beat St. John's. And in Georgetown, if you watch that game, Patrick Ewing just literally, he was a one-man wrecking crew that game.
That's why I seen him do hook shots for the first time. I'm like, oh man, how come he didn't do that?
Yeah, I mean, Walter Berry couldn't guard him. Walter, he was 4 inches taller and just a lot stronger, and that was it. But yeah, those 2. I mean, if you literally look at that Final Four and you look at Georgetown and St. John's, there haven't been many college teams since then, maybe never, that talented. I mean, that good. Chris Mullin, Hall of Famer. Mark Jackson, arguably one of the best point guards.
I can see him making Hall of Fame. He's like top 5 in assists all-time NBA. So yeah.
I mean, you look at Georgetown, and I think Michael Jackson. I think just about all those guys played somewhere in the NBA. All 5 of them played at some point. I mean, Reggie Williams played for a long time. Wingate played for the Sixers. And I mean, you look at that many NBA, all-stars played against each other. I don't remember the last time I saw that.
Yeah, it's a stacked team. John, I guess, talk about your memories of that Final Four.
So the funny thing is, when that Final Four happened, I believe I was 5.
Yeah,
So
I know it's a way, but
I was a little older.
I do know that I watched the games with my dad, and I've been all sports my whole life, and I do remember watching the games. Can't really remember what happened in them.
Mhm.
As far as myself, St. John's memories really started at the end of the 90s. I'm sorry, the end of the 80s, and into the early 90s when Malik was there.
Yeah, so I was gonna get to that now. They won the NIT at '89. Malik Sealy, Jason
Right.
Williams, Robert Worden. And the NIT, of course, it's not NCAA, but it was kind of a big deal, like in New York. So
Right.
I guess I'll start with John, and then Howie, you could talk after. Yeah, talk about that NIT, like Malik Sealy.
Right.
Rest in peace, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Malik for me, like like when you're growing up, you always have your favorite player for whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, Malik Sealy was my favorite college basketball player. Right. Um, he was always intense on defense. He was always there around the ball, and he was just like the guy you root for. Like obviously with Ewing with the Knicks when I'd grown up,
Yeah.
you
Mm-hmm.
know, from when I can remember basketball at 6, 7 years old, he was on the Knicks. So me learning basketball, Ewing was a Knick, and it was just that's what it was. Sealy was the same thing for me, and of course you love Jason Williams because he
Yeah.
back then, of course, not so much now, but back then he really was just the go-getter, the ball buster, the heart of New York on the team.
Mm-hmm.
It was Jason Williams, and just watching that team was a lot of fun. And
Yeah.
I mean, obviously we're not there yet, but in the late '90s when I was there, uh, that team reminded me of the '89-'90 team, the NIT team, and it was just fun all over again. I mean, I was real lucky the time I went to St. John's with
Yeah.
the guys that were there.
Definitely was. Howie, I guess talk about Malik and that NIT team,
Yeah,
89.
Malik Sealy was as far as a college player, he was a one-man wrecking crew. He kind of reminded me, it's just a strange time because a few years later, he reminded me a little bit of Felipe when he came in. We'll talk about
Yeah.
that later. But they played very much alike. Both of them weren't great shooters, but they could go the whole score whenever they wanted to.
Right.
But my favorite player during that time, and he was on one of those teams as a kid, in my opinion, he's my favorite St. John's game guard ever because I saw him play 14, 15 times, and he could do anything he wanted, was Boo Harvey.
I was
I
about
knew
to.
you
I
were
think
going
we
to say
had this
Boo.
conversation. I think
I
we had
knew
this conversation
No,
before.
I knew you were going to say Boo.
Boo Harvey was, I remember he played a year, averaged like 9, 10, because he came in from
Hmm.
a JUCO in Texas with the other
Yeah.
guy.
Uh-huh.
And then he took a year off because he had to get his grades up. Then he came back. And Jason Williams got hurt, couldn't play. Boo Harvey, I'm not sure. He averaged like 24, 25 points a game, like
Hmm.
9. He was unstoppable. And the thing was, I just remember as a kid, every Saturday, I'm like, he'll hit a last second. He hit like 5 or 6 last
Yep.
second buzzer beaters. It didn't matter who they were playing.
Hmm.
I would say, get the ball into him, and I want everyone to clear out, and that's our offense. And Boo
Harvey
would,
was a lot like Linsanity. When Jeremy Lin first came to the Knicks, it was very similar.
Just a hot, yeah.
oh,
Yeah, just out of nowhere.
Boo had one good year. Then he played a few
Yeah.
years over in Europe.
Overseas, yeah.
He's
He
like
was
90%
undrafted.
of St. John's guards. He couldn't shoot. But yeah, but that was a great team. That was a great team.
Yeah.
And I think they went to the tournament one of those years. Because yeah, Worden was from Archbishop Malloy, right? I think
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. Worden was, yeah. There's a lot of, like you said, a lot of local guys, were, staying local and playing for St.
we
John's.
had them all staying local then. It was
Yeah.
just amazing how he kept everybody home.
Right.
Yeah. So in 1992, Lou Carnesecca retires after, being a coach for over 24 seasons, and Brian Mahoney takes over. So, Howie, I'll start with you, and then John. How did you feel about Lou, retiring? And
I mean, yeah, he probably could have gone another 10 years.
I thought so too. Yeah.
I mean, really, he could have. But he leaves. His head assistant takes over. you kind of had a good feeling because you're like, look, he was with Lou all these years that kept these kids home. And it was kind of like it went downhill. All of a sudden, some of these kids just started getting away, signing with Duke, signing with North Carolina. He'd keep one or two of them home. And it felt like we just had less and less talent every year. Right up until, John's time there with Ron Artest and I think Omar Cook, was he the guard?
That was a little bit after.
He was there after, actually. He was there.
And he was one and done. Yeah, and he was one and done.
He's still playing.
Eric Barkley. Barkley was the main guard.
Oh, yeah.
Colin
Bootsy.
Bootsy Thornton.
Yeah. Yeah,
a lot of guys.
About Bootsy, a lot of people don't realize this. Bootsy was probably the best shooter. And I know this is saying a lot. Bootsy might have been the best shooter St. John's ever had.
And John, wasn't he a left-hander?
Yeah. And he was a JUCO player, transferred.
Yes.
But you know what it was? The problem he had was Lavelle Postel was ahead of him. And Felipe was still there. And then Artest came in. So he was
I'm a backtrack real quick, John. Sorry to cut you off, but I'm I get to I guess 94 where it starts like the recruitment of Felipe and Zendon Hamilton, and they changed the name from Redmond to Red Storm for obvious reasons. So John, I guess I'll start with talk about getting Felipe, who was a big deal at Rice High, and I remember him being on the front pages of the Daily News and the New York newspapers, and then to get Zendon.
Sports Illustrated.
I remember that. Yep. Yeah. When they had they would, and I think they were We Are New York's team. That was when they were promoting that too.
Right.
So I guess
they put the Manhattan skyline across.
Yeah. Yeah. That's when uniforms were taking those crazy turns and just all these colors.
The funny thing is the Jordan brand first ever uniform was St. John's.
Wow, I didn't know that.
And that was in 94 when Felipe started, or 95 maybe it was his sophomore year.
Yeah.
But Jordan backed one team and it was St. John's. It wasn't even UNC.
That's crazy.
But
I know that.
Yeah, but it was awesome. And when I first got there, I got there in 96. So Felipe and Zendon had already been there.
With
Tariq Turner.
Yeah.
And it was really those three. And then in 96, when I got there, 96, 97 season, they actually had a really bad year for what that team should have been. And then 97, because I think Felipe even got hurt a little bit. But then 98, Postel was there. Artest was a freshman.
Well, that was their best. That was their best, I think, most stacked team with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sarah, let me ask you a question. Lavelle Postel, he was from Georgia, wasn't he?
He was from Georgia. Yeah.
It was didn't he have a relative or something that lived in Queens, and somehow they got, because he was a kid that wasn't supposed to come to St. John's.
Right. So if I remember, and actually Lavelle was one of the nicest guys on the team, bar none, probably because of his southern roots. He was athletic like nobody's business.
Yeah,
he could
I know.
Anybody. And you know what's crazy was when Lavelle got recruited, like you said, he was from Georgia. He did have a family member. I don't remember if it was a cousin.
Yeah, something like that.
Or maybe it was his mom's brother, whatever it was, that lived in New York. And he was vacationing or whatever it was the summer before, I guess before his senior year. And his cousin or whoever it may have been took him to St. John's to just shoot around, whatever, on at Alumni Hall, now Carnesecca Court. And I guess he met with the coaches. So almost like Lavelle came to St. John's.
Yeah.
St. John's didn't go to him. So yeah, that was real weird.
I just remember how they got him, and it was a weird story behind it because he stepped right in his freshman year and played. He was solid.
Oh yeah, he was so good.
For me, it was great when the Knicks drafted him and he played with the Knicks that year. He only played maybe 3-4 minutes a game, if that. He
didn't average. Yeah.
For some reason, I don't remember who got hurt, but Lavelle started 3 games.
Near the end of the season, if I remember this.
He scored 25 points in one game. I'd have to look it up to remember.
I
You know,
want
I
to say it
remember
might have been Allen Houston. This is like the time Allen Houston was like kind of their best player. This is like
makes sense.
2000. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Allen Houston, I know he was, yeah.
99, the Knicks were in the finals and Houston was
Finals.
their best
Yeah.
player. So that
Yeah.
makes sense. But
Right.
yeah, I loved that time. Reggie Jesse was great. And of
Yeah.
course,
Chauncey Gray.
yep, exactly. Tyrone Grant was the big guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
So,
as you know, I had a great relationship with Artest. We
yeah.
became like best friends, and I've showed you photos and stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
I was his media relations at the NBA draft down in the MCI Center down in DC.
DC. Nice.
Yep. And it was such a great event that I know, like I've showed you photos and stuff. Howie, I'll show you
Yeah.
whenever we get together, whether it's in the next 25 years or not. We're forever. But yeah, and it was just a ton of fun. Seeing these guys who were actually becoming national celebrities, being in class with them was fun.
Mm-hmm.
Traveling with them, you know, the plane rides were always beyond ridiculous. Hanging out with them and stuff like that. So it was great. I loved it.
So let's talk about that I guess the year when Fran Fraschilla came in, and that 98, like that was a good team. And then 99, like Fran Fraschilla got fired because he took interest in other schools, right?
Yeah, he went to New Mexico.
Yeah, and then
he became the head coach of the Lobos, which was really weird. You guys probably don't remember this, whatever, but being there, the year he left, he became the head coach at the University of New Mexico, the Lobos. And what was weird was before the year started, St. John's agreed to be in the Lobo Invitational.
Wow.
So the year after Jarvis's first year, we flew out to Albuquerque, and we were in the Lobo Classic. It was us, Dayton, Purdue, and New Mexico. And it was crazy that we were there playing against Fraschilla.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. That was I was never a big Fran Fraschilla fan, especially after that. That was just
right.
Kind of a dirtbag move.
It really was. It was like, buddy, you're from New York. What New Mexico?
Yeah.
You want to go to Mexico? Really? Yeah, that's a real traditional basketball college, New Mexico.
Yeah. All right, so now, let's talk about that 99 run when Mike Jarvis is the coach, and that they go to the Elite Eight, and it's like, I mean, John, you were there, so this had to be like pandemonium, you know, Artest, Eric Barkley, Bootsy, Postel, like it had to be. How were you feeling? How was the school's atmosphere, and how was like that just that time, that Elite Eight run?
So with all of that, I also had my my own radio show on WSJU at St. John's University, and we were getting calls left and right. The energy there was just, it was like everybody was walking on clouds on the campus, and it was really crazy because we flew out. We did I guess we were at Miami first. I forgot where we went first, and then we came back, and then we went again, and we came back, and we went again.
Wow.
when we were getting ready at the game when it was the Elite Eight, and we ended up losing, unfortunately, to Ohio State.
Yeah.
The whole time we're there, we didn't think we could lose. You know, after we beat TV Franchise and Maryland in the Sweet 16 to get to the Elite Eight, and we're going against Ohio State with Scooney Penn.
Yeah, Scooney Penn and Michael Redd, I think, was on that team too.
And Michael Redd. Yep. Look at that freaking backcourt, right? That's crazy.
Yeah.
And we were like, we're not losing. There was no way we were losing. And I remember that the team, including Artest and Postel and they had the thought in their mind that there was no way they were losing. And we were all there. And the deflated feel after losing the Elite Eight to Ohio State was one of the weirdest feelings, because essentially it had nothing to do with me. Just that I was, you know, the broadcast. I was a play-by-play announcer.
Yeah.
But the feeling you had was like family members died. Like it was just like heart-wrenching. You going back to after we flew home and we had to go to class, you know, that Monday, Tuesday, it was like death in Queens. It was horrible. It was like people didn't even talk to each other in the hallways. Like Marillac Hall where we ate was like nobody was there. It was just like a tsunami hit, and it was a weird feeling.
Yeah.
John,
Howie, go ahead.
Was that the year the Final Four was Ohio State, Michigan State, UConn, and Duke?
I believe.
Was it in Tampa?
I don't know if it was in Tampa, but you know what it was? And this is going to sound so childish.
Uh-huh.
We were out. I can't even tell you who
you
won.
Didn't care. Yeah, you didn't care. Yeah.
No.
I used to feel like that when the Knicks were eliminated from the playoffs. Like, I don't care anymore. I'm not watching this.
Yeah, in all honesty, I don't even know if that was the year that UConn and Kemba won, right? Or that was 99.
No, that was I'm looking up now. It was Duke, Michigan State, Ohio State, and UConn. So I think it was that Khalid El-Amin team.
So I went to the Final Four that year. And
that was in Tampa, yeah.
Yeah, I remember it because I sat right in front of Barbara Bush. And when I turned on, I'll never forget. That's how I remember these things. Because Barbara Bush sat right behind me, and I turned around, and I was with my father-in-law, and I said, "Buddy, either George Washington's still alive, or that's Barbara Bush. She's right behind him."
Right, that was the governor.
There was security everywhere. It was in St. Pete. So
wow.
Think about that. The reason that tore me apart was because when Ohio State beat St. John's, the one thing that I couldn't get out of my mind was the fact that Elton Brand, who had brought Duke to like 3 Final Fours in a row, he should have been in wearing St. John's uniform. He was on Ron Artest's AAU team.
Yeah, he was in New York. Like, I know he's from upstate New York, right? Like Buffalo or something. Yeah, Peekskill. Okay, yeah, it's not that far. Yeah.
The AAU team with Barkley, Artest, Elton Brand, they went something like 177-2.
I think Lamar Odom was on that team also.
Yes, Lamar Odom was on that team too. You know why he didn't get into St. John's, we won't go there.
Yeah.
But Elton Brand was being heavily recruited by St. John's. He had St. John's down to like his final 2 or 3 schools, and it literally came down to his mother saying, "I want you to go to Duke. I want you to get away from here." She just didn't want him to go to St. John's with that whole crew. But can you imagine if he was the center on that team? They would have won. They would have won a couple national championships.
Right.
That would have been amazing.
Because I went down to that, and UConn actually upset Duke in the finals. Trajan Langdon bounced the ball off his foot with like 3 seconds to go. And Rip Hamilton just was. Yeah,
Rip Hamilton, another guy. Yeah.
The man against the boys. There's a guy that didn't miss. He just didn't miss.
Yeah.
But I remember watching Ohio State, and Ohio State had Scooney Penn, who transferred from BC with O'Brien, and they had Michael Redd, 6'8" left-hander, play guard forward. But I'm watching that team, and I'm like, man, St. John's had a better team. St. John's had a better team than these guys. They shouldn't have lost that game.
Yeah. It's probably the most stacked team since the 85 Final Four team.
Oh,
very talented.
I mean, they were, Barkley was a good guard, and Artest in college was pretty much unstoppable. But I just keep remember watching Elton Brand saying, "Why did you go to Duke?" He went to Duke, and of course, Duke's got 9 McDonald's All-Americans.
Yeah.
that had like Corey Maggette, William Avery, Brand, Trajan Lane. They were
so many players, and Duke. It's been like that since the dawn of time. Duke is probably the number one recruiting team.
I was so happy to see UConn win that national championship. That was the first one.
Yeah. So let's talk about, I guess, the probation period. When Mike Jarvis was there, there's the player accepts some money from from somebody, and they're on during the next part of Jarvis's tenure. Yeah, they're on probation. So they even won an NIT title in 2003 with Marcus Hatton, won the MVP. but they vacated. They took all that back because of the So John, I'll ask you first, since you were, I guess you're not there. You graduated already,
Right.
but do you remember? I mean, what was your take on the violation and the probation period?
Well, I don't even know if they ever said what player it was, and I don't think they did.
They actually, it's Abe Chieta.
Yeah, the center.
Yeah, so it's like, all right.
Right. So it's weird because when the whole probation thing happened, I wasn't there anymore, but I was still in tune with the radio station stuff, so I still paid attention, of course. I always pay attention, whatever. But it was like they were so high and they reached such a climax with that 98, 99 team, 99, 2000 was still a good year.
Yeah, because they won the Big East tournament in 2000 too. Yeah, Artest already was drafted, but like they won the Big East tournament, so
it was such a fall off, and then all of a sudden it was like, I guess the university felt the fall off, that they went out and they had to get somebody. You know what I mean? And because they had to get somebody, they went the wrong way to do it. But it was like, again, a real cold shoulder for the university. And they never really bounced back from that moment, if you think about it, because they've had decent teams, but no real good teams.
Yeah, since then. Yeah. Howie, how do you feel?
It's been like 25 years. I mean, I'm sorry. It's been like 20 years almost.
Yeah.
Since they've had a team that you could call a St. John's Red Storm team that you could feel good about. They had a 2 years ago or whatever it was, or even last year.
Shamari?
Yeah, they did okay. They had a decent year. They had a decent team, and it was fun to watch again. And then Mullin leaves, and now it's the situation it's in. And I have a feeling that, like this team, they're 6-3 now, or 5-3, whatever it is. Just lost last night to Georgetown, but
it's a good game.
I don't know that they're going to be a good team again for another couple of years. Hopefully they are. Hopefully I'm wrong, but it's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, John, if you heard this, but the rumor, I'd coached, when was it? I don't know. I'd coached up to about 97, 98, and I had a lot of friends coaching across the country in Division I. And the rumor was that literally Mike Jarvis was burnout, and he wasn't working hard like he used to on the road recruiting. That was the rumor.
That's accurate 100%. That's 100%.
The rumor was, and I knew guys that worked with him, and the rumor was he's been doing it a long time, started off Boston University, had some great years.
Yeah, George Washington.
Patrick Ewing's coaching high school, right? At Ridge and Lat?
Yeah, Cambridge.
So the rumor was he's burnt out. He's just not working the way he used to. And I think that's the case with a few coaches that have coached there. Throw in Fran Fraschilla, because those guys lost guys that they shouldn't have lost. I mean, you can say what you want, but college basketball is 90% sales. You got to find a way to get that kid to go to your school. I don't care what it is, but you better find it. Because, hey, Kentucky, I don't know what they're doing, but they got 7-8 guys every year from all over the country. They just signed that Kuninga or whatever kid from New York. He's a top prospect in the country, and all of a sudden, why do these kids go to Kentucky? What is there in Kentucky? Come on now. And I mean, John.
What I think is crazy is I can't wait to see where Bronny goes. He can go anywhere.
But
or he can go to the G League.
but seriously, let's wait and see, because honestly, I don't know how good he is. I really don't. I've seen.
I can say the same. Yeah,
he's real good.
I mean, compared to, I know where he plays at that school in LA, that top school. It's a powerhouse, pumps out. But let's wait and see. What is he, 6'6"?
He's 6'7", about 185 pounds. He's pretty big. What is he, 16, 17?
Yeah.
He already dunks. He already, skies. he hasn't filled out the body like LeBron.
Yeah,
But
Yeah.
really, he can go anywhere he wants. It's very curious to see where he goes. If he goes to
Yeah.
Ohio State, probably that's the number one choice. Maybe UCLA because now they're in LA. Who knows?
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see. There's a lot of good players.
Or I wouldn't be surprised if he takes the like LaMelo Ball route and just goes overseas or does something different. You don't have to do it, I think, the traditional way if you're good enough now, don't you think?
Right. I mean, who knows? Maybe he'll go to University of Akron, Ohio.
Yeah.
just to show he's dominant, whatever, at the next level. But
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, there's a ton of good. There's so many good players. And getting back to like what they're doing right now, the only thing I'll say is, I would say for the first time since Mike Jarvis, I like the hire at St. John's. I like
Mike Anderson,
because Mike Anderson, he's not only won at everywhere he's gone, but he's won pretty convincingly. He's gotten good players. He got good players at Arkansas. Won the SEC, which they never did before since Nolan. He brought, not only that, if you look at that staff at St. John's, he's got Paul Pressey on the staff. I mean, that's I think he's covering his bases, because when you have a good college staff, you got to have a couple good recruiters. You got to have a local guy, and they got that DeMeo from Bayside. He's been recruiting New York for 25 years. I knew him 25 years ago.
Oh wow!
And they got they got one New York recruiter. They got Pressey, because you got to have a guy that has connections with the NBA.
Yeah.
The only thing that could hurt St. John's the next 4 years, as far as keeping players, is right up the river. You got the Devil. You got Ricky P. That's it. Oh, Iona.
Yeah, that's right. Iona right now. Yeah. That might be a problem. Yeah.
Ricky's gonna keep a couple guys in Bronx and Brooklyn and Harlem.
Right.
Guys that were gonna go to Duke, Carolina. Now they're gonna go to Iona.
Yeah.
So
let's talk about real quick, I guess, after Jarvis, the Norm Roberts era. I think he got a raw deal because it was after the probation. And, it's like, I guess, like you guys said before, it's like when they kind of lost his luster, nobody wanted to go there. And you probably, after probation, can't recruit.
I think Norm Roberts knew that. I think going in, he was pretty sure it was going to be a tough road. I think he just thought that he'd be given the opportunity to get out of it.
Yeah.
And he really wasn't. He was only there a few years. And I think that he did get, like you said, he got short.
He was there for 6 seasons. And it had nothing. I could barely remember players from that.
Right.
It was a tough time.
Was he there with Mo Harkless? Was he the only pro that came out of Norm Roberts?
Oh, I want to say it might have been Steve Lavin.
Oh yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, because I think Lavin
produced a pro.
Yeah, I think with under Lavin, that's when the change. So I guess we could talk about. Howie, your thoughts on Norm Roberts hiring, and did he get a raw deal?
Yeah, I mean, when he got hired, you knew it was dark. It was dark ages, man. Nobody saw a bounce back. And if you look at his whole tenure, that was just a rough time.
Yeah.
I mean, like you say, Maurice Harkless, he's the only player I remember during that time. I mean, really, they were bad, man. St. John's had some really lean years.
Yeah. People, like I said, I couldn't remember at all. But let's talk, I guess. Huh?
It's sort of weird. Like there's no one you could think of besides him.
Yeah.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah. So let's talk about, I guess, the Steve Allen, because Mo Harkless was a product of Steve Lavin. Talk about, I guess, the Steve Lavin hiring and how he kind of brings the program a little bit, takes it a step forward.
I thought Steve Lavin was a great hire, and I really thought that St. John's was going to be back to where it was in the 80s and the 90s with Carnesecca, and then when Jarvis took over from Frischella, and it sort of got real good, but never great.
Yeah. Never did, like a few.
Then he just gave up.
Yeah, Lavin took him to 220 appearances. They got go one and done, bounced out. But
Yeah.
That's all it was. But Lavin to me brought some. Howie, what do you think about the Lavin era?
You
And
know,
he got
personally,
Mo Harkless out of it.
as an ex-coach, I mean, I didn't like Steve Lavin just because he ratted out his former head coach, basically to get that UCLA job.
Oh wow. I didn't
What's
know.
his name? The coach at UCLA. Then he went to Georgia and got in big trouble down there. I can't think of his name right now. He coached the brothers at UCLA when they won the national
Oh,
championship.
O'Bannon?
And
Yeah,
yeah.
Charles Wood.
But I mean, Lavin came in, slick guy, got a couple good players. Like D'Angelo Harrison was a good
Yeah,
player.
yeah, that's how I was gonna mention. Harrison was great. Yeah.
Yeah, they had good players under him. Probably not enough to get over the edge and really turn it up. But I think, like John said, he came in, he had all this gusto. He brought in Gene Katie from Purdue was living down in Tribeca as his assistant coach. Love in New York. He had a few good years, and I think he just stopped recruiting because they stopped getting players in under him. They weren't getting in the players that they were getting in when he first started.
Yeah, and that was the hope. They was like they hired him for the recruiting. They's like, all right, he can get people here, and it didn't happen. Real quick note: Norm Roberts, the only guy. Cedric Jackson, I think he had a cup of coffee in the NBA.
Oh yeah,
That was yeah. That's
right.
that's the only guy. So, but
I don't
that
remember
was
him in St. John's or the NBA.
yeah. So it was very extremely quick. So
Guys, I'm going to tell you one thing. I'm probably going to lose you guys in about a second because I have the storm that's coming and my phone is down to no mobile.
got you. All right. Well, if we do, we're almost done. So I'll get to the Chris Mullin era. And Johnny, yeah, I'll start with you. When Chris Mullin comes in 2015, how did you feel about that hire? And it comes full circle for him because he was a player, probably the greatest player they had, and now and I guess we lost John. So Howie, how did you feel about the Chris Mullin?
Probably the same way
John
did. Like, I was excited. I'm like, yeah, we got the best alumni coming back. He's going to be able to keep the players. And he started off getting a couple solid recruits. Shamari Pons, who I loved.
Yeah. I think we went to a game where we saw him go off that game. That was a fun Big East game.
I loved him, man. But then again, it's almost like there's a trend here where after 3 or 4 years, these coaches get burned out and they're just like they don't go, they stop bringing in the pipeline.
Yeah.
You got to have that consistent pipeline of solid players, or else because the Big East, it's not what it used to be.
Yeah.
But
especially a lot of teams were leaving the Big East and going to what was it?
They lost all the football.
ACC. A lot of guys, went to the ACC.
Yeah, they lost Syracuse, Boston College, Pittsburgh. The football schools went to the ACC, but they did something really smart. I'll tell you what, the Big East, they haven't dropped a lot as far as potential college hoop players, because you take a look at the schools they brought in. They're not football schools. They only have one sport. Butler, Creighton.
Yep.
these are
Butler. Butler is a great example. 2 back-to-back Final Four appearances.
Look at Xavier's gone to the 16 plenty of time. Creighton's got one of the best teams in the country this year. Creighton could win the national championship. They're there.
Wow.
So Villanova's won 2 out of the last 5 national championships. So you take a look at, now it's a strictly basketball school league. So you're recruiting a kid and you're saying, look, here's the deal. You're not going to a Duke or North Carolina, where we also have football. We have other things. Basketball is the only game in town here.
Yeah.
So I think, and there's not 20 schools in the league. There's only 10?
10, yeah. 10 not schools. A lot.
So if year after year, the Big East is throwing 6, 7 teams a year in the tournament because it's competitive, man.
Yeah.
Big East is good. It's really good. It's good this year.
Yeah. Seton Hall, Marquette. Yeah, it's like well, Seton Hall, they've been there, but like yeah, like with the addition of Butler and Creighton, and they're mostly like DePaul, and they're mostly like Catholic school affiliated, right?
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
like
I
yeah,
mean,
so it's
besides Creighton, I don't think Creighton is. But yeah, Xavier, DePaul,
Marquette,
Villanova, Seton Hall. Yeah, those are Catholic.
Providence, yeah.
Providence. But some of these schools I think have actually gotten better. Like DePaul, since they made it into just strictly a basketball league, they're competitive now. They're very good this year.
Yeah. I remember going to a St. John's game against DePaul, and they blew them out the water, man.
DePaul's good, man. They got that same coach back. He was assistant at UConn for like 20 years. Then he went to DePaul. Then he went to Virginia. And now he's back at DePaul. But yeah, I mean that league is solid. They always have 4 or 5 teams in the top 20.
And then you have Villanova, who's been dominant.
Villanova's. If there's a better Division I program the last 5 years, I'd like to.
Yes, it's definitely Villanova, Jay Wright, and just the guys they come there. It's phenomenal.
I mean now there's no reason St. John's, because you're recruiting a kid. You find a kid in New York, and New York's got so many good players. Say, listen, why do you want to go to Duke? You can play all your home games at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
Your whole family can come see you. You're not going to be that far away from your mom. She can come see all the games. You're playing in one of the top conferences in the country. The tournament's going to be right here in your backyard.
Yeah.
To me, I think I do like this coach. I do think that this guy is coming up with the right formula. If you watch their last 4 or 5 games, they got good guards. I love these guards, man. That he's got right now. I love that kid Posh Alexander. The kid Champagne, and the other kid, they all played within like 3 miles of each other.
Nice.
So
where are they from? They're like New York.
Alexander,
they're not New York.
He played at Our Savior Lutheran. With the other kid, the Dylan Aldo Wasson. They played in the same high school. And then Champagne played at Bishop Laughlin.
Okay, so they're all local. Okay, cool.
All 3 of them are local.
Yeah.
I mean, the big kid they have, who I like, somehow he's from South Carolina. I don't know how. But you're just, and Johnny, I heard the announcers talking the other night. And the announcer said, they bring in Mike Anderson. He plays an up-tempo pressing. Rick Pitino, Nolan Richardson type of. And that's the kind of style you can recruit good high school kids in New York. It's fun. You get to press, you get to run, score. It's a fun system to play in. But then he said, there's no reason why he can go outside of New York and just recruit kids from all over the country. And I thought, you're a moron. How are you going to get a kid from Texas or LA and say, hey, man, you ever been to Jamaica, Queens?
And that's what I think the problem is. The problem is, like, St. John's is in New York. So I think from the outside looking in, you're like, oh, they're in New York City, Manhattan, or maybe Brooklyn. But the thing is, and not even Queens is the problem. I guess it's where it's situated, where it's too far from everything. You get to St. John's. Okay, cool. I'm in New York. Oh man, where's the buildings? Where's the nightlife? Whereas, St. John's is my neck of the woods, which is, fine for me. But if you're not from here, you don't think of that as a typical New York City setting. You have to walk. Like, if you walk to the train, it's a little ways to walk to the train.
and it's Jamaica, Queens.
Yeah. So I mean, it's fluctuating to where you have to walk to, like, kind of, I guess, kind of the hood to get to the train, but it's just kind of in the middle of nowhere. I think what would be good if they built some, like, nice places around it. Yeah. Where, like, you go to Duke, you go to camp, like the campus. I think that's where the kids, like, from New York, they're like, oh shit, I never been to, like, this is how they get down in North Carolina. That's how they get down, and you know what I'm saying. It's a different. Yeah. It's a culture shock for them, and they're like, oh snap, I never been around these type of people before. Yeah. So I think that's where the problem with St. John's is, just hard to recruit. If St. John's was like in, like, Williamsburg, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that would be easy.
Yeah, or even like, like the East Village or something like that,
Yeah,
where NYU is. You know what I'm saying?
a jump shooter from Iowa.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's more happening, but yeah, Jamaica, Queens, I guess your surroundings are like, all right, where is everything? Where is everybody? I don't even think the campus is that, most of the St. John's games I've been to were Carnesecca Arena. So I can see why a player, especially from New York, just wants to change. You know what
yeah.
I'm saying? And that's what sucks about it. I mean, yeah, it'd be dope if you could stay in New York, but I understand why you don't want to
You can
stay
see why. Yeah, and plus, who knows why some of them are going also? Because I don't care what anyone says. There's a reason Kentucky gets,
Yeah.
and it's
Tyler
called.
Perry got to be doing, yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, no, but St. John's is the school where you could take a 5-star blue chip high school athlete out of the Bronx or Brooklyn and say, look, kid, you can go to Kentucky, you can go to Duke. You're probably not going to have a lot in common with the rest of the kids at those schools. Those schools. Or you could stay home where your whole family can come see you play twice a week. On home games. You're going to have more of a home crowd. You get to play at Madison
Madison Square Garden. Yeah, you would think that that'd be the kicker for people to stay in. It was like, oh, we'll get to play in the Garden.
And I like this guy Anderson. I think he can do that. Look, he signed 2 kids already for next year out of Long Island Lutheran.
Nice.
And they're both very good players. So I think he understands the philosophy of, look, we just need to focus on this 50-mile radius.
Yeah, exactly.
If we get a kid from upstate New York that's solid, whatever, an Elton Brand kind of a situation.
Yeah.
But
even though Syracuse would be another choice because they're rich history and they're,
Well, Syracuse, look how many kids they've taken out of the city. I mean,
you look because it's not that far. It's what, a 4-hour drive?
Yeah, 4 or 5 hours. I mean, look, Red Autry, Tony Bruin. You can go back all the way. They're one of their best players ever was from Malvern High School in Long Island. I can't remember his name. Andre Hawkins.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean Syracuse is dipped down here. It's basically St. John's and Syracuse. It's a rich area to recruit.
Yeah.
I remember you only need 2-3 kids a year. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all you need.
And then hopefully they can build up and at least like be competitive in the conference.
I like the direction they're going. I mean, I've watched 4 or 5 games this year, and I think they can play with anybody in the country. I don't think they're a team that's going to get blown out because their guards are that good. As always, their front court is a little thin. It's always like.
Yeah, the tallest guy is 6'4".
St. John's, you got guys in full court pressing, and they have one kid 6'10" who's solid, but they got good guards, and they can play with anybody in the country, and they're fun to watch. I love this guy. I love Anderson. I love his, he picks up, he presses. They're not bombing threes or going to the hole. I think this guy's going to be okay. I like him.
So, yeah, hopefully we get to see some winning stuff. Howie, thanks for joining us, man. I appreciate you.
Good time.
Joining me on this. Anything you want to plug before we go?
No, man, absolutely nothing. I'm just staying healthy. Just got back from St. Louis. I'm not.
Man.
I'm not doing any more comedy until
everything gets better.
Too scary out there right now.
Yeah, it is. I don't blame anybody for not wanting to do anything, and all we could do is just hold on and wait till things get better. But we have stuff like this to be entertained with. So, Howie, again, I hope to see you soon. Thank you again for coming on. All right, man. Peace.
Bye-bye.
All right, guys, that was Howie Dewey and John Butera. Thank you for joining us again. Tune in next week. I'll have another guest and I have another team. Thank you again for joining us. Peace.